morning, friends. This is a really weird angle because I'm working with what I got. So I'm not filming this at my kitchen table like I usually do. I'm filming it upstairs. So we're gonna just kind of work with what we have. I'm going to be getting a new tripod for overhead shots that will be a little bit easier. But good morning, welcome back to my channel. I'm Neva, and today we are bringing back something that has not been around for like a year at this point, which are WIP chats. If you do not know what a WIP chat is, WIP, WIP stands for work in progress. This one is mine, which I will show you a picture of here in a second. And chat just stands for chat. So basically it's going to be like we are drinking coffee and crafting together. So go ahead and get out your own WIP and we can work on whatever it is that we need to work on today. So I am diamond painting. That is usually what I do on WIP and chats. I don't really craft anything else, and we usually chat for around 45 minutes to an hour, and then that's it. So this one might be a little bit shorter because I don't really have a lot to say today, but we're gonna go over some things and talk about some stuff. So let me start with the things that I'm using. I am using two of these hand-turned pens here. This one is, I'm sorry, the lighting is not great in here today either, but this is the Hufflepuff colorway, and this is the Gryffindor colorway. These were hand-turned. I will leave everyone linked down below because everything is, I can't even think right now. I cannot remember where I got these from, but I'm sure halfway through I will remember. But these are hand-turned pens. I have an entire set of 4. And then we have my dots here. So I have these chunky scented glue dots and that are in my multi-placer, which I'm using a 4-placer in my Gryffindor pen. And then I have these regular sized glue dots, scented glue dots, and both of these are from Oh Snap Crafters Cafe. Like I said, everything will be linked down below. So this is the picture that we're working on. I was hoping to have it done before the WIP chat today, but alas, it is not. So let's hope that I can get this done before next week's WIP chat, and here we go. So happy Wednesday. These go up on Wednesdays. I usually film them on Wednesdays and then they go up on Wednesdays. That's just how it works out. So let's start by asking you, how are y'all today? I do have a color already picked out. It is this pink color for Dobby's ears. So we're gonna start with that because that was the color that was already out. My beads are like over on the side of me. I just don't have enough room on this little table for everything. So how are y'all? I feel like it's been a long time since we really sat down and did a little chitty chat like this. I mean, I do vlogs and stuff so you can see my face, but I feel like the WIP and chats are just a little more casual, right? So let me know how you are. Truly let me know how you are. Don't just say that you're good if you're not. We love to help around here. I am feeling the seasonal depression, I will be honest. February is a rough month for me anyway, just due to life and grief and things. So it's been a little bit rough the beginning of this year, but we're making it through. We are making it through, friends. All right, I am going to start off by answering some questions. I did put some questions up on anyway, I did put some questions up on YouTube. I will be doing this periodically throughout the year where I put up like a box, not a box. I put up like a little thing asking for any questions, and so I did get some questions. Let me find where my question post is. Here we go. I got 2 questions. So we will start with the first question, which is from, actually I'm gonna do these kind of out of order. So the first question that I'm going to answer is actually from Jean, and I had to talk to Ryan before I decided to answer this question, but he's okay with me answering it. So the question was, any plans to expand the family. And yes, there are plans. We have been actively trying for a few months. It's just not necessarily something that I've been advertising or anything like that. Like close friends know that we've been trying, like close friends, like even in the book community. But it's not necessarily something that we're actively advertising, just because I don't want to have to field a lot of questions, but I'm okay to answer that question. So yes, also Ari is pounding down my door for a sibling. So we are planning to, but we will see what kind of avenues we need to take. I've had to kind of be at peace with the fact that I might be older than 35 before we have the first one, and that's okay. And when by the first one, I mean the first one together, and that's okay. I think that we each just want to have one. Like, I think we both have decided that one is enough, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't, but we are trying. The other question that I got was, how did you build up to reading 3 books at a time, and how do you build up the speed you read in a book? So this is 2 questions, so I'm going to kind of break it up into 2. So the first one, which was, how did you build up to reading 3 books at a time? So the way that I read more than 1 book at a time is I read in different formats. So we have 3 formats, which means that theoretically I can be reading 3 books at any given time, right? So I will usually have a physical book, an audiobook, and an ebook all going at once. This is just to kind of break up the monotony of constantly reading physical books or whatever. I know some people will read like multiple physical books. If I had more than 1 Kindle, I probably would read multiple Kindle books, just because I would have like an arc going at all times, or a library book going at all times, and then also like a book that I own. I think also picking different genres, like 3 distinct genres, is very important as well. So I don't read like 2 romances at the same time. Like currently I'm reading a hockey romance, a horror thriller, and a fantasy. So my fantasy book is a mixture of physical and audiobook. My horror thriller is a mix of physical and ebook. And then my hockey romance is a physical book that I am currently annotating because it's a reread. So I think that it kind of depends on what works for you and for your brain. And I would just kind of experiment with it. My friend Reni, she's constantly reading like 7 books at a time, and half of them are physical books, you know? So I think that it just kind of depends on what you are able to work with. And some people, like my friend Christina, only read 1 book at a time. I would love to get back to doing that, where I'm only reading 1 book at a time. But I think that because I found such a rhythm with doing 3 books in 3 formats, that I won't go back to reading 1 book at a time. It also allows the mood reader side of me to have a little bit of choice and say, oh, okay, I don't really feel like reading a physical book today, so I'm going to listen to my audiobook. And then the other part of this question was, how do you build up the speed you read in a book? So I actually was just talking about this on Tuesday Sprints with Kelsey and Julie. I read the fastest with just audio. I think that not everyone does, apparently. So I read the fastest with just audio. I read at about 2 to 3 times speed with audio. So usually I can get an audiobook done much faster than I can an ebook. I read the slowest physically. Immersion reading is the slowest right after physically, which that's when you like listen and read at the same time. I just can't amp up my audiobook to be as fast as it would be if I wasn't reading along. And then I read the second fastest on Kindle. So I think it's about finding the format that works the best for you. With Kindle, because it's such a, or an e-reader in general, it's such a customizable experience because you can change fonts, you can change the font size, you can change the margins, like you can make the page look exactly how you need it to for a comfortable and enjoyable reading experience. I think that a lot of people read a bit faster on an e-reader. I can't read on my phone. I know some people do read on like phones and iPads. I have to use an e-ink screen due to my migraines. So reading on like a phone or a tablet isn't an option for me. But with an e-reader, I do find that I read quite a bit faster, especially if I'm reading chunkier books. But I think that's just because it's a more comfortable reading experience. So those are the two questions that I got for that. We're going to go over, we're going to do the currentlies, and then I'm probably going to close out for today. I don't really have a lot to say today, so if there's something specific that y'all want me to cover in these WIP chats, let me know. I think I'm going to go back and rewatch some WIP chats just to think of other things to talk about. But I wanted to get out a WIP chat because I've been saying since the beginning of the year that I was going to get one out, and then I just haven't been able to find a place to like film and everything like that because there's a lot of people in my house. So let me think. Okay, so currently watching, let's start with that. I'm currently watching a lot of things. I'll be honest, I'm always watching a lot of things, but I think that the most notable things that I'm currently watching are, we are nearing the end of 90 Day The Last Resort. I watched this show last year when it, or no, in 2023 when it first had a season. So it started, the first season was at like Christmas or like Thanksgiving or Christmas time in 2024. And then they brought it back or in 2023, I'm sorry. And then they brought it back at the end of 2024 into 2025. I really like this show. If you don't know what this show is, it is a 90 Day Fiancé spinoff. So it is with 90 Day Fiancé people, so people that have already been on a 90-day show that are either married or in committed relationships, because technically there's one couple on here that is not married, but they are in a committed relationship. They met on 90 Day The Single Life, and they go to this resort for therapy and counseling to try to save their relationships. So basically their options are that you leave with the person you came, oops, apparently I put those on plastic, it's okay. You leave with the person that you came with, so you fix your relationship and you rededicate yourselves to your person, or you break up and you leave single. That's basically your options. So we see them go through different therapies, group sessions, you know, one-on-one sessions, all of that. And then we get to see at the end whether they are going to stay together or break apart. So there are a lot of couples this season that I actually really love, that I root for. I don't think that they're all gonna make it, to be honest. There's actually a couple that I'm pretty sure are no longer together in 2025, and it makes me sad because the first season there were a few couples that I was like, I don't even know why you're here, like it's so weird that you're here, like we knew this was not going to work type thing. Most notably was Ed and Liz in season 1. Like, they're not together anymore in present day, and I knew that they weren't going to be. They recommitted themselves on that show, but I feel like for both of them it was like a clout thing. And while I believe that Liz may have actually loved Ed, I don't think Ed's capable of loving anyone but himself. But on this season we have like Sophie and Rob, who I root for always. We have Brandon and Julia, who I've always rooted for. We have Jasmine and Gino, which I root for them. I'm pretty sure that they're not together anymore present day, but I think that Jasmine deserves so much better than Gino. I think that Gino, it's easy for him to blame everyone else for his problems, and that bothers me because he takes very little responsibility for the chaos that he causes. Who else do we have? Benny and Ari, or Ariella. I do like Ari and I do like Benny. I don't know that I like them together, if I'm gonna be honest. I like them as individuals. And then we have Natalie and her dude, whose name I can't remember. Natalie met him on The Single Life, and they have just been like on and off, back and forth for like 5 years. And it's like to the point where I just don't care about them anymore. I think that he strings her along and tries to manipulate situations, and I don't like that. I don't really care for Natalie. She's kind of abrasive, and I don't mean like strong-willed. I mean that like I like that Natalie knows what she wants. The problem that I have with Natalie is that she knows what she wants, but sticks around with a dude that doesn't want to give that to her. And so, but then it's his fault that he doesn't want to give that to her. But I'm like, girl, you could have like left and like gone off somewhere. We are going to move on to this little section. But she originally married Mike, and when she was with Mike, I really was rooting for them, but unfortunately, Natalie, with how mean she was to Mike, it didn't end up working out, because she was constantly like saying that Mike was worthless and things like that, so that's not great. Who else do we have? We have Stacy and Florian. So Stacy is Darcy's twin sister. For anyone who watches 90 Day Fiancé, Darcy was originally on 90 Day Fiancé, and then she was on before the 90 days. Stacy we saw Stacy in the background a lot of Darcy, just because they're twin sisters, and I think at one point they lived together, and so we would see Darcy a lot, or not Darcy, we would see Stacy a lot in the background. And then they ended up getting their own spin-off show called Darcy and Stacy, where we were following them, and that's where we saw Darcy that's where we saw Stacy marry her husband, Florian. I don't like Florian. I think that he's terrible. I love Darcy and Stacy as sisters, and or as people, I should say. I know they have their issues, but I really love Stacy. I think that she has such a kind heart. But Florian just annoys me. He's just very abrasive. He's very controlling. He's very like my way or the highway, and he's very like double standard. Like he runs on a lot of double standards. And then do we have anyone else? I feel like I'm missing someone. I said Brandon and Julia, and I said Sophie and Rob, but I'll talk a little bit about them. So Sophie and Rob, they have had their issues. They split up at one point. They didn't get divorced, but they did like split up. And then like Sophie moved out, and then she moved back in. It's a lot of back and forth. I don't think they're together present day. And then Brandon, but I love them. I do love them. I think that Rob has his issues, but I think that Sophie also has her issues. They both come from a lot of trauma that I think neither of them has. I don't want my hand to stick to this, so I'm actually going to block off these 4 rows, and we're gonna do it that way. I don't usually do this, but my hand keeps sticking. they both come from a lot of trauma that I think neither one of them is willing to really work all the way through. And unfortunately, when that happens, you can't, if you bring trauma into a relationship, a lot of times it will fall apart. And then we have Brandon and Julia. Julia is from Romania? Russia, I think. I think Julia is from Russia. She was like a go-go dancer in Russia. I don't know, her spirit is just so like carefree and she's very vibrant. Brandon came from like evangelical parents, which, okay, and he's a little more conservative than Julia, but I love them both. I don't know if they're together present day, but I love them as a dynamic because I think Julia makes Brandon fun while Brandon kind of grounds Julia and keeps her, you know, from floating away. So that is that. That is the show that I'm watching right now. I've also watched like the family vlogger show. I think it was called An Update on Our Family. I watched that. I watched The Fall of Diddy, which I'm going to say, please look at your trigger warnings for Fall of Diddy. I'm not going to talk about it really in depth here just because it is very heavy. But there is like the video footage of what he did to Cassie in the hotel in 2014. That is played on screen. They warn you first, but like it is played on screen and it's pretty rough to watch. So if you're not in a headspace for that one, I don't suggest it. I clicked on it knowing basically what it was probably going to be, and I chose to watch it. But I watched, I think there's only like 3 episodes, and I watched it over a span of like a week, just simply because, and I did watch it like as the episodes dropped, so I got about a week, so maybe 2 weeks, because I think I got a week between each episode. And I had to watch it that way, just simply because if they had already had all the episodes dropped and I tried to just watch it, I wouldn't have been able to. I would have had to turn it off and come back to it. Oops, I missed you. And come back to it later. So there's that. I have been watching the new season of Harley Quinn, which is an animated series on Max. I love the Harley Quinn show. It's just, I don't know, it's just a fun show, but it's also very hard hitting. There are a lot of like political things. It's very relevant to the time. So like it is a fun show, but it also tackles like real life issues. I also will say, yes, it's animated, but it is an adult animated show. It's not for kids. So please be aware of that. I've had people ask me if I let Ari watch Harley Quinn, and I do not, because it's not made for children. I think that's it, because I finished the season, the newest season of Before the 90 Days. It was a complete mess. I'm now watching the Pillow Talk for that, because the way they've been doing the Pillow Talk for that is they've been rolling out the entire season at once, which is awesome, because now I can like go back and watch. If you don't know what Pillow Talk is, that's where 90 Day Fiancé couples that have been on the different shows, they rewatch a season of, like the most recent season of 90 Day Fiancé, whatever spinoff show is airing that season, and they give commentary on it, they talk about it and give their opinions, and I absolutely love it. And then I'm also watching Worst Cooks in America. I haven't watched the show in years, but they had a new season of it that was celebrities, heroes versus villains, and it's been super fun to watch. Cheryl Burke was on there. She went home like the first week, but Cheryl Burke was on there. The guy that played Gil on Gilmore Girls was on there. Like the drag queen Trinity was on there. Like there were just so many wonderful people on there. Corinne from The Bachelor. Like there were Wes from, what was he on, Road Rules, I think, for on MTV. But yeah, I absolutely yeah, that's what I've been watching. So we've been listening to Wicked. We've been the Wicked soundtrack. We've been listening to Taylor Swift. We've been listening to Savannah Dexter. Savannah Dexter actually has a new album dropping on Friday, and I'm so excited for it. I've been long awaiting this. It is like her first pop album, so I'm super excited for that. I've been listening to Alexandra Kay in anticipation of new music from her. So it's just kind of been a whole conglomeration and mixture of music. I haven't really been listening to podcasts recently. I need to kind of get back on my podcast game. I do listen to Hustle Stanley podcast on Tuesdays. It's part of like kind of my weekly like thing, my weekly routine. And I have been listening to Amber Wardell's podcast. I think it's called Sensible Sessions, because I really love that podcast, so I've been listening to that. But otherwise, I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts. And then reading. Let's talk about reading. So currently I'm reading 3 books, I believe. I'm going to just check my story graph really quick so I don't tell you incorrectly. Yeah, I'm currently reading 3 books. So I've decided to restart the Throne of Glass series. So that's going to be a little video series on my channel as we go through and we finish those. I think I'm going to do that. I don't know. I may not actually show any videos of that other than like in my monthly vlogs, but it will keep me accountable to read them. So I'm starting with the Assassin's Blade. I'm about 17% through. I'm reading one story a day, so it should take me about 5 days to finish, and I started it yesterday. So I'm filming this on a Wednesday. It'll go up the same Wednesday that I'm filming it. So I started it on a Tuesday, and then I'm doing my reread of Fucking Sweet. I'm about 45% through that, so hopefully we finish it, because that would be like a good chunk of pages to count for Clue Readathon, and I can count the pages that I've read this month. So the last like 55% of this book I can actually count as pages read for Clue. And then I've also been reading Middle of the Night, which is the first book that my spinner wheel picked for off of my February TBR. So those are the 3 books that I'm reading. I'm enjoying all of them for different reasons. I'm happy to be back in the Throne of Glass universe. Fucking Sweet, we know that I love being in the Jacksonville Rays world. And this one is different. Like it's amazing to me how different each of the Jacksonville Rays books is, considering that they're all hockey romance. Like, it's just amazing to me the talent that Emily Rath has to make each of her characters completely different and relevant and their own people, and I love it. And then Middle of the Night, I know this one is not super popular in the Riley Sager world. I know a lot of people don't seem to like this book. So far, I'm liking it. It seems that everyone has secrets in this book. It is about a man who is trying to figure out what happened to his best friend 30 years ago when his best friend was abducted out of his backyard in the middle of the night. They were camping out like in a tent in Billy, which is our main character, in Billy's backyard, and Billy woke up in the morning and his best friend was gone. He was vanished. He was nowhere. And so 30 years later, he's back in his childhood home. His parents have moved to his parents have moved to Florida, and he is trying to figure out what has happened to his best friend and why things have happened the way that they did, where he's gone. I'm sorry, we're following Ethan. We're following Ethan. I keep thinking we're following Billy, but we're following Ethan. I keep saying this. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna have to change that in my vlog. But we're following Ethan. His best friend is Billy. I think that's why Billy is sticking in my head, is because the best friend is Billy. So Ethan's best friend, Billy, has disappeared 30 years ago. And Ethan is now back in his childhood home trying to figure out exactly what happened, because there are some people who think that he knows more than he does. So it's just one of those little things, honestly. But I am enjoying this book immensely. I know some people are not or didn't enjoy it, but I'm known to enjoy Riley Sager books that other people did not love. House Across the Lake being a great example. So I think that's where we're going to stop for today. I'm going to go do other things around the house today. This will go up, but let me know if there's anything else. We only talked for like 30 minutes, I guess. We talked about 30 minutes. So let me know if there's anything specific y'all want to see in these ribbon chats, and go ahead and like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one.